good evening everyone, and welcome to some more Sporting Memories, another sports quiz for you this Saturday evening. This week's topic is going to be on managers and coaches. So something we haven't touched on as a full quiz before. We had this in the chaps groups recently and it went down quite well. So I've got 15 questions for you to have a go at. We'll do the answers tomorrow night as normal. And like I say, every question will relate to either a coach, a manager, various sports like we always do. And then tomorrow I will go through the answers obviously and a bit of background. So that's all straightforward. So we'll start off with number one, and it's quite apt because it's on tennis. And we've not long finished the Australian Open, have we? So this is a fairly topical one. Three players who are quite been playing quite recently, or still are. So which current tennis star was coached by Andre Agassi from 2017 to 2018? Which current tennis star was coached by Andre Agassi from 2017 to 18? Now, that's quite a difficult one. So I'll give you three choices. Was it Roger Federer, Andy Murray, Sir Andy Murray of course, or Novak Djokovic, the recent slam winner of the Australian Open? Roger Federer, Sir Andy Murray, or Novak Djokovic? Who did Andre Agassi coached in 2017-18? Number two. Moving on to a bit of cycling for a change. Who managed Team Sky, it's not called Sky now of course, winning 7 editions of the Tour de France between 2012 and 2019 with 4 different riders, which is pretty impressive, isn't it? Particularly when he won it earlier. He predicted he'd win it within so many years, but he did it even earlier than he predicted. So who was that? I'm not going to give you a multi because I think that's a fairly well-known name on this one. So that's number 2. Number 3, for anybody who's into rugby, who managed England to their Rugby World Cup victory in 2003? A little bit easier one, that. Can you remember who was managing at the time? To give you a clue, he is a Sir. There you are, there's a good clue. So who managed England to their Rugby World Cup in 2003, which I'm sure you can remember very well. Moving on to football for a change. Now then, what have we got here? In what year did Bill Shankly make the shock announcement that he was retiring from football and leaving the Liverpool job? Which at the time did shake not just people in Liverpool, but throughout football itself. In which year did Bill Shankly make the shock announcement he was retiring from football and leaving the Liverpool job? It's a few years ago now, as any of you Liverpool fans will realise. But how long ago? Can you get the right decade? That might be a good start. Any ideas on that one? That's number 5. Number 4, jumping ahead there. Number 5, if you're into Formula 1, this is your time to shine. Who is the team principal of the Red Bull Racing Formula 1 team, a position he's held since 2005? Who's the team principal of the Red Bull Racing Formula 1 team, a position he's held since 2005? I'm sure you'll get that one if you're a Formula 1 fan. Who could that be? Number 6, going back in time a bit here. Anybody into horse racing? Which horse trainer, can't really call him a coach or a trainer, led steeplechaser Red Rum to 3 Grand National victories in the 70s, as well as having another winner in the early 2000s? Got a pretty well-known name. There's a bit of a nickname often we use for his first name. Which horse trainer led steeplechaser Red Rum to 3 Grand National wins in the 70s, and with a different horse obviously in 2004 Grand National? Any ideas? It's probably one of the few trainers I know of myself. Have a think about that one. Number 7. Boxing this time. Which boxing manager and promoter managed Lennox Lewis to the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world? Now that's quite a bit of a challenging one, so I'll give you some multiple choices. Are you ready? So was it Mickey Duff, Frank Warren, or was it Frank Maloney? So 3 well-known names from boxing, but who managed Lennox Lewis? So think about the time when he won the title. Think about these 3, were they on the go at the time? So who was the boxing manager and promoter? Number 8. Which athletics coach and later TV presenter coached Lynn Davis to Olympic long jump gold in 1964? It's going back a bit. What I'm going to do, I'm going to give you a multiple choice again on this one because it's a bit challenging. So listen to these 3 names. Any of them ring any bells? Stuart Story, long-time athletics commentator. David Moorcroft, used to commentate on quite a few years as well. Or Ron Pickering. Do you recognise any of those names? Maybe you recognise all of them. So who was the coach for Lynn Davis, the Welsh long jumping gold medalist? Any ideas? Tricky one. Number 9, back to some football for you. If you're an Arsenal fan, this is your time to shine. Who was the Arsenal manager from 1976 to 1983, having previously managed Spurs, Tottenham? Who was the Arsenal manager from 76 to 83, having previously managed Spurs? Now, I'm sure you can draw up a bit of a short list of who it might have been. Any names spring to mind? That's going back a little bit now. Any ideas on that one? So that was number, let me get it right, number 9. Number 10, back to boxing. Who was the boxing promoter who will always be linked with the rise of the Irish boxer Barry McGuigan? Do you remember Barry McGuigan? Who was the boxing promoter who will always be linked with the rise of Barry McGuigan? Any ideas on that one? He was generally seen with him. He was often there during the interviews. I'm not saying they were joined at the hip, but he was definitely, if you were around at that time, you will have remembered this particular individual quite well. That's number 10. And number 11, back to football. Time for you Everton fans to take centre stage. It's on Everton, this one. Who was the Everton manager that preceded the first spell of Howard Kendall at the club? Now, obviously, when Howard Kendall was there for the first time, he won a lot of stuff, didn't he? But who was the manager just before him? And now, I'll give you 3 choices because it is a little bit of a tough one, this. Was it Billy Bingham? Was it Colin Harvey? Was it Gordon Lee? Do any of those names ring any bells? If they don't, fair enough. If they do, can you get them in the right order? Billy Bingham, Colin Harvey, Gordon Lee. Any ideas on who that could be? So that's going back quite a few years now. And number 12, staying with football management, but more of a local feel on this one. So if you're a Grimsby Town fan, and yeah, they do exist, which manager is Grimsby Town's most successful? So there's one for you, Josh, if you're watching. Which manager is Grimsby Town's most successful? I'm sure you got that one straight away. Too easy for words. If you want a clue, he had several spells. In fact, he had 3 spells at Grimsby Town. One of them quite successful, it has to be said. Who was Grimsby Town's most successful manager? One for you local people who support Grimsby Town, and not doing too well at the moment, are they? But of the Mariners, of course. Number 13. Which former British athlete has been re-elected as president of the International Association of Athletics Federation? Now, former British athletes, don't want to give too much away. Middle distance, big clue there. Can't say too much more because it'll be an obvious one. So who is the current president of the International Association of Athletics and was a successful British Olympian? 13. Number 14, Formula One. Here we go. Who is the Formula One team boss of Mercedes, which is, of course, where Lewis Hamilton has been finding some huge success, hasn't he? Any ideas? He's given himself like an unusual bit of a nickname to the first name. It isn't his real first name. He generally, whenever you see him interviewed, they normally give him this name. Who was that manager? Who is that manager? He is the CEO, the team principal, and he holds a 33% share in Mercedes. Who is that? And finally, it's come around quick again, number 15. So, back to football. Any Liverpool fans should enjoy this one. Here we go. Which former Liverpool player is now head coach at West Bromwich Albion under manager Sam Allardyce? Which former Liverpool player is now head coach at West Bromwich Albion under manager Sam Allardyce? So he played for Liverpool quite some years ago. You may not even remember him playing for them. Or you might. So that's all 15 done. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something out of that. Got the old memory banks working there. Particularly those football managers. So I'll go through those tomorrow evening. So until then, bye-bye for now.